Like fantasy?
Film.
Fight! What'd you fucking say?
Fantasy.
Film fight.
I still don't get it.
Fantasy.
Fight!
You take the pick of the litter.
We take it in turns.
Someone just gotta go first.
And then
The next person.
they just go round and round.
That's what.
We call it
Fantasy.
Fight. You win some, you lose some.
Anything can happen.
So,
Who are you going with?
who you picking?
today.
Fantasy.
Film.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 66 of Fantasy Film Fights, the show where we take a random film topic and we draft it fantasy style. I cannot tell you how much it took for me to not quote The Great Outdoors while giving that intro. If you know, you know. Anyways, we are drafting the year 1997 this week. Movies that were released in the year 1997. It's going to be a fun one. With me, as always, by my side, right over here, Mr. Tony Hill. Tony, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent. This has been a very fun week of basically having an excuse to listen to music from 1997. So I will have references to Spice Girls, Blur, Oasis, Foo Fighters, The Verve. Basically Britpop. Britpop is the greatest music genre in the history of ever. And it's like 97 is like the peak of it. Like this album here, Blur by Blur, it's the 5th studio album. If you've not listened to it, you're doing bad.
Yeah. Is that wee-hoo? Is that one?
Yeah, song 2.
Okay. I know. Yeah. I know it a little all too well. It haunts me. Anyways,
Damon Albarn does no wrong.
He doesn't.
Let's introduce the panel. We've got a fantastic panel joining us today. All returning guests right over here, who was supposed to be here with us last week at an emergency, but we're glad he's with us this week. Mr. Dave Goodger. Dave, how you doing?
How you doing, Peg? I'm very well, thank you. Hello, Tony. How are you?
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm doing well.
Nobody cares.
No one ever asked me. They always ask Peggy, but not me.
You know, I've been polite. Well, I have to admit, I'll be really honest. It's the only time I'm going to be polite to you all evening. I don't normally manage it, but hi, Peggy. How are you?
I'm hanging in there, sir. I'm glad to have you with us.
Good to be here. Thank you very much for having me back on.
Of course. Always a pleasure. Down over here in the corner, like I said, returning guest, Scott Harvey. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. First of all, I want to say, Tony, if we're not talking about Pulp's Different Class, which I believe was 1995, then I don't want to talk about Britpop because that's one of the best albums of all time. But and number two, I'm excited for this. Normally, if it's like an older year like this, when I was 2 years old, to be quite honest with you, in '97, then I wouldn't necessarily throw my name in because I might not have seen as many movies as other people, but when I just like went to 1997, looked at Letterboxd, how many movies I'd seen and the quality of movies that were there, I was like, yeah, this is definitely one I can participate in. So this may get competitive.
It's going to be interesting. That's for damn sure. But like I said, glad to have you with us. Down directly below me, you guys know him from all the chat rooms around the Schmodown. This is Mr. Garth McMurray. Garth, how are you?
Great to be back. And I was not 2. I was 29, so I have a little more memory of the year. I saw these movies in theaters, so.
I was somewhere between Scott and Garth, just for the record.
But this is going to be a fun one. I guarantee we're going to get a lot of, oh no, he got it before me.
Yep.
Yep. It'll be a fun one.
It will indeed. And then last but certainly not least, the man I like to call the cyborg. One of my former faction mates in the family is Mr. Jake Meltzer. Jake, how are you?
Yeah, love the shirt. I'm doing good. I was honored to be picked for this one because I know it's pretty in demand. I know a lot of people wanted in on this episode, so I'm flattered that I was picked for this one. I was 8 years old when 1997 came around, so also between Garth and Scott, just not quite as much. But yeah, I'm excited for this one because there's some of my favorite movies of the decade are from this year. So I'm excited to see what happens.
It's definitely going to be an interesting one. And in order for all the chaos to unfurl, we got to figure out draft order. Tony, how are we going about that?
Yep, that's the way we do this. I've got a numerical question here. Everyone's going to have an answer. We'll get Peggy is drafting. Whoever gets closest to it gets to decide who goes first, who gets stuck in the middle, and who takes it in the rear. And I've been over-prepared today, and I've got 2 questions.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to give you guys the options. Do you want the question about cocks, or do you want the question about getting drunk and fighting? Cocks or getting...
Both such appealing options.
I'm afraid to say.
Let's go with number 2.
Getting drunk and fighting. Oh, okay. So
I see what you did there. Fitting reference to 1997 film.
All right. So the question. So I already mentioned music. One of the best one-hit wonders of all time came out in '97 in Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping.
I get down, but I get up again. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How many times during that song
I knew that was...
do they get knocked down?
I'm gonna say this number.
So just quickly,
Yeah,
these guys are deciding. So it's films released in 1997. So this is things that got in released on a scale in some part of the world. So if it's for example, if there's a Japanese film, if it got released in 97 there, but like 98 in the States, that's fine, or anything like that. As long as it predominantly got released in some part in 1997.
This pen doesn't work very well.
It's in the night of clear.
It's such a good
I
tune.
think you can make out the number.
All right. I'm just
All
upset I didn't get to ask my question about badminton. All right, I think everyone's got a number.
Well, if there's a tie, you still get to ask it.
All right, so we'll go to Dave first.
Well, it sounds about right. It's 97.
Oh.
Scott.
I said 40.
Garth.
32.
Jake.
Well, I went low. I said 25.
And Peggy.
Hopefully you can make it out. 48. Like I said, the pen is dying.
So
Gotta save the black ones for the real thing.
2 people are actually quite close. Closer than we normally are. For the person with the correct score with 3 off was Garth. It is 29.
Ah!
Wow.
My first guess would have been better had I not erased it.
All
right.
Cool.
Garth said,
Garth, yeah, it falls to you.
draft
sir.
order, and just quickly, Scott and Jake are scared of each other of picking the same thing because they do have similar tastes in movies. So if you want to start giving out your Venmo information to them, feel free.
All right. And Peggy, you're the one playing tonight, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, usually it's better to be in the middle. However, with this crew, I'm deathly afraid of my number 1 getting grabbed if I'm 3. So I'm going to put myself at number 1.
Okay.
Put Peggy at number 2. We'll go Jake at number 3. Scott at number 4. And Dave at number 5.
Okay.
Dave.
And just quickly for anyone new watching this, so it's a snake draft. So whoever goes first in the first round goes last in the second round, last in the first round, first in the second round. Like it's a big S.
All right. So without any further delay, Garth, you're officially on the clock for the first overall pick of a movie released in the year 1997. What are you taking first overall?
All right. The reason I didn't want to go number 3 is because I'm a Boston boy.
God damn it.
I gotta go with my man Good Will Hunting. I gotta
so
do it.
pissed.
So yeah, it's I love this movie. Obviously filmed in the area and Oscar-winning. Robin Williams and Damon and Affleck, and it's just a beautiful movie. And they don't fuck up on the accents; they do them right. Too many movies like The Departed. You get some bad people in there, and it's like, yeah, no, not quite. Nice try, Alec Baldwin. But Good Will Hunting is just a beautiful movie, and then Elliott Smith music throughout, and he's been around the area here, and was a beautiful guy, and sad loss, but hearing his music throughout, it's really beautiful and great movie. So
Yeah, I can't argue against this one. This would have been my first number one overall pick had I gotten the chance to go first. Yeah, because I figured I could wait on another one, but we'll see what happens here. But yeah, I'm kind of pissed because there are two movies that I saw multiple times in theaters in the year 1997. This was one of the two. I'm guessing people at home could probably figure out what the other one was. But gentlemen, if you'd like to discuss Good Will Hunting, was this number one on anyone's draft list besides mine?
No, number one. It would have been like maybe in third round for me.
Yeah.
It's high on the list, but not in like my top like 4. It's definitely top 10. But no, this is great. It's a great movie. I think definitely like one of a couple really good Matt Damon performances from this year, and. Yeah, I just feel like it could have just been super smalty. I'm so happy they didn't go with like the way it was originally going to go.
Oh yeah,
where it was going to be like a spy thriller for the second half of it. They basically, which made no sense.
Yeah,
It's kind of movie it wound up being.
like the interview, not the yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad it didn't go that way because that would have been obnoxious.
Yeah, I watched it a couple years ago for the first time, and I liked it. I mean, it's a solid 4-star movie for me for sure. But it's one that I like. When I looked at the 1997 list, I was like, this is probably going to go really high, and that's one that I don't have a problem with going high. Number one, because it's a good movie, but number two, because it's not one that I would like be interested in taking that early on. So I'm glad that things are going to according to plan after at least one pick, but I'm sure things will go a little bit south after this. But no, I don't fault you for this pick, especially given your background, Garth. I think this is a great pick.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've watched it. It's one that is on my list to pick, but it's not in my first few picks. So yeah, it is. It's a good film. It's just not for me.
That's fair.
I'd probably say it's Robin's finest hour. It's like, especially outside of like tradition. If you look at it as a whole piece of just like his greatest work as an actor, I think this is the movie. Whereas as a comedian, you probably have a few movies that can argue it, like Mrs. Doubtfire, but this one is just like purely your skills as a actor. Like,
yeah, yep,
that's fair. All right,
and
I
gave us Ben Affleck, which thank you.
I didn't give you Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck was in School
Jason
Ties long
confused.
before that.
Hello.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, O'Bannon.
School Ties. Come on.
He was.
Bro.
What was the Explorer fucking TV show he was on as a kid? Like The Adventures of something. I forget. Anyways, irrelevant. Anyways,
Definitely too young for that one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Good Will Hunting is off of the board. It falls over to me now. Do I pick the obvious Peggy pick, or do I take something that I might not get back around to me and force one of y'all to take that one? What do I do? Because there's like, okay, I have a top tier of 5, and I'm pretty sure the other 3 won't get back around to me by the time it comes back around to me. So do I let you guys figure out who takes that one and just throw some chaos into it? I think I might. Yeah, let's see if it gets back around to me. I am not going to take what everyone expects me to take first overall pick. I am probably going to throw a wrench into one of these gentlemen's draft strategy. I am going to take what I consider to be my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film and the best one of I am going to take Boogie Nights.
I knew that's what Scott wanted. I knew that's what he wanted.
Now, this is the movie where honestly, Philip Seymour Hoffman solidified himself to me, just almost famous. Like this one was like the one where I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. I don't know. I just love this movie. It's so, I don't know. The cinematography alone, where they follow the party into the pool and then around William H. Macy and the whole thing with his wife. And it's an amazing movie. If you've never seen it, you need to see it. I'm pretty sure everyone here has. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Scott. It's on my squad now. But gentlemen, feel free to discuss Boogie Nights because it's on my team now.
I thought I was safe from Peggy. I really did. I definitely am a little surprised on the pick, but yeah, I mean, this was my number one choice. It's probably my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson film as well. I just rewatched it recently and was just like, this movie's amazing. It moves so quickly for how long it is. And it just has like this vibrancy and energy about it that just like, it just feels alive the entire movie. And that's what I love about it. It's definitely like a no plot, just vibes type of movie, which is one of my favorite like subgenres. Great ensemble cast. That whole ending sequence with Alfred Molina as the drug dealer, and he's singing Jesse's Girl, and it's like the tensest scene you'll ever watch in which the song Jesse's Girl is played. It's so good, and it's understandable why this is the movie that made PTA like a household name and like was getting him Tarantino comparisons like in the era in which it was released.
Yeah, this was my number 2 on my list. Because it's like 1A and 1B, this and There Will Be Blood is my favorite PTA. To me, PTA is one of the like 3 or 4 best directors alive right now, certainly American. But I sometimes one of the first things I think about this movie that makes me not like it is he made this movie when he was 26 years old. Think about that for a second. I feel so inadequate thinking about that. Because when I was 26, I was like just barely making it in New York, like selling real estate. And here PTA was out here making a 90s opus about the porn industry when he was 26. So it's just like, but yeah, this movie's incredible. Like everything that Peggy and Scott have said about it is true. There's no weak performance really of the entire ensemble. Everybody is great. Even like Mark Wahlberg being kind of I don't want to say weenie, because I mean that you can take that a different way, but like
weenie.
He's a big too. He's a big bright shine. He is a big bright shining star in this movie. I will say that, as are like a lot of the other people. And
Burt Reynolds is amazing. Yeah,
he really is. Yeah, he absolutely deserved the nomination. I know there was tension behind the scenes with him and PTA, but it does not come across on screen because he is absolutely fantastic. It did come across between him and Wahlberg because there was also tension between them off set, and there's the whole big fight that they have by the pool. It was definitely like you could definitely feel like some real hostility there. I've gone on too much. This movie's amazing.
Fun fact, I've said this before. I was not familiar with the Transformers movie. I thought the song "You Got the Touch" was a Dirk Diggler original when I first saw this movie. And then I heard it on the radio. I'm like, somebody covered this? Yeah.
That's hilarious because he sounds so bad singing it that you thought that was the original version.
Well, yeah, that's why I thought someone like had covered it like as a joke. Like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah, fair.
Yeah, I did not realize that he was covered. Yeah. Anyways, but it's fun little story.
One last thing. Maybe my favorite like fake character name ever from a movie is from Boogie Nights. Chest Rockwell never ceases to put a smile on my face. Just an incredible fake character name. And obviously John C. Reilly's amazing. But yeah, Chest Rockwell, awesome alter ego.
Yeah. And
going up the honey tree.
For me, I love this movie as well. It was a little lower on my list, but for me, growing up, seeing Burt Reynolds in the old Smokey and the Bandit, The Longest Yard, and The End, and stuff like that, seeing him in this at the later part of his life and playing a character who's at the later part of his life, and stuff like that. He encapsulated the role. He was my favorite part of this. And it's a really well done movie. And it was also weird seeing like, oh, there's Nina Hartley. What's she doing in a serious movie? But really well done movie. Yeah.
For sure. I'm happy to have it.
Watch it.
You've never seen it before?
I'm not a big fan of PTA outside of Punch and Clover.
I think you'll like this one.
Cancel him.
It might be his most like conventionally entertaining movie.
Yeah,
it's the most straightforward of his movies. I would say.
Absolutely.
Good.
Completely
I'll
agree.
give it a watch. I also found out it's got Ricky Jay in it, so I'm now trying to watch anything with Ricky Jay.
Yeah, definitely.
Don
the
Cheadle,
reason-
William H. Macy, the whole cast is stacked.
The reason why I keep a deck of cards on my desk is if I get bored, I just try and throw them like Ricky J.
Yeah. Trying to
One day.
you have a watermelon in the corner.
Yeah. It's been there for a few months. I need to change it at some point. Oh well.
I have that book on my shelves here somewhere that's throwing cards with.
All right, so Boogie Nights is on my team. Jake, who's the first to take part of your squad?
Okay, yeah. So I'm glad I get to take my number one pick. I think a good future fantasy film fights topic is movies created in a lab specifically to cater to someone's interests or make it a little more snappy, but something along those lines. But like when you talk about like movies created in a lab, for me specifically, when you combine journalism, classic Hollywood, police procedural, you get a movie created in a lab for me to absolutely adore. It is LA Confidential is my number one pick. This is in my top 5 favorite movies of the entire decade. I absolutely adore this movie. I rewatched it recently for funsies, and it just moves like sort of like Boogie Nights. It's a little bit. It's not quite as long as Boogie Nights, but it's just for being a 2 hour and 15-minute movie. It moves like that, and you're just so gripped in the mystery from moment one. Like all the various moving parts come together seamlessly at the end, and this is like just the break. Russell Crowe and Guy Pearce are just like, you can see why they went on to bigger things, not necessarily better, but bigger. They're both incredible. Bud White is one of the most interesting characters, I think, in any movie. This would have been my pick for Best Picture, not even close. But yeah, Bud White is just such a fascinating character because he's such a has such this hard exterior, but then he sort of has this soft spot for like, he just can't abide by people who beat women, which holds up well, actually, considering where we've been today. But there are obviously certain other aspects of this movie that do not hold up well, which we don't have to get into. But no, I just think that this movie just combines all of these things into one really appealing package. In addition to Crowe and Pierce, you've got Danny DeVito, phenomenal as the tabloid reporter. James Cromwell is like the year before he was in fucking Babe, and then the year after that he's this really corrupt, evil Irish police lieutenant, and he's awesome in it too. And like, I know Curtis Hanson has made some other really good movies. I really like 8 Mile, but this is like, talk about like a magnum opus. You get this here, and I'm actually also, I just picked up a different James Ellroy book from the library the other day, The Black Dahlia, which was made into a much inferior movie. But just, I knew this was coming up, and I wanted to kind of get back in the vibe of this time period. So, and yeah, this movie was easy number one for me.
Nice.
Oh, you had to go and take it, didn't you? I was sitting there thinking, you know what? Yeah, I let you have Good Will Hunting, let you have Boogie Nights. I've absolutely no problem. Let's go. Yeah, come on, here we go. Now I can get. Oh, you snatched the rug out from under me. This for me is one of my top 3, as you say, for the decade. It's definitely up there for this year. My favourite film. The cast for Boogie Nights is great. This one, the ensemble of this lot blows anything else out the water for it. And they all perform. Even the ones that is not particularly good to talk about anymore is fantastic in the film. Yeah, this would have been my number one pick. And curse you, Jake, forever.
Sorry, Gigi.
I'm gonna need to revisit it because this was number 15 on my list, and granted, I have not seen it since the 90s, probably, so I'll probably have to revisit it. But yeah, I mean, if Jake gives it a good recommendation and Dave gives it a good recommendation, I think I may have ranked it a little bit too low. I think I need to go rewatch it.
Yeah, I really like this movie as well. It was pretty highly rated for me, but it's also one that I'm okay with somebody else taking off the board. Mainly just because I haven't rewatched it in quite a while, like Peggy. So if I were to rewatch it, I think it would probably rate even higher for me. But yeah, no, it's a very entertaining movie, and a lot of the elements that Jake mentioned being designed for him are also stuff that resonates with me a lot of times. So.
And for me, I'm a fan of the classic noir and all the detective stuff and all that. So this was a perfect callback. It's like this would fit right in with any movie marathon with Maltese Falcon or whatever. It's just a well done thing, and Kim Basinger, and it's a great movie, and don't doubt I knew this would go in the first or second round. Great movie.
Yeah, so pissed at you about the Good Will Hunting pick, Garth.
Well, that's why I went first and not third.
Right.
I figured someone would want it.
I had a list of 3 films I needed to watch before this episode. Guess which was the 1 to 3 that I couldn't get around to watching?
Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I'll get around to it this week. But it's Curtis Hanson, Wonder Boys from 2000. It's a really underrated film, which is fantastic. And I don't know what, but I would have put money on that Christian Slater was in this film. For whatever reason, I've just always seen his face in the poster. I would have put down money. I would have done, and I'm trying to figure out what now. But I've just pulled it up. And just I don't know what. That's not him.
Arrow or something?
I don't
Broken
know.
Arrow, yeah. Or there was the mobster movie where he played young Lucky Luciano and Patrick
What was
and Meyer
that?
Lansky. Mobsters.
Was it called Mobsters? Yeah.
That's right. Oh God.
But yeah, I don't know what role he'd fit in this movie. I don't know. Yeah.
Just fancy casting Christian Slater in other films.
Hey, he was the shit in the 90s, especially the early 90s. So
Oh, definitely.
it was Cuffs, and then he kind of just fell off until Mr. Robot came back around. But anyways, Jake takes LA Confidential. Excellent picks. Scott, what is first off the board for you?
Okay, well, I think some payback might be in order because Peggy took my choice. So I'm going to pick what I think was the other film that she was alluding to. And look, we just had some conversation about the best picture of 1997. And so I'm going to pick the film that actually won Best Picture in 1997. It may not be everyone's choice, but it's a damn good movie called Titanic.
I was hoping he would get back around to me. Damn it! I figured you fellas would avoid it.
Yeah, I know there's a subset of people who think they're too cool for this movie, but I am not in that subset. I think this movie is just grand, old school, epic Hollywood filmmaking at its best in a contemporary era when you could do so much more with special effects. And I mean, James Cameron is someone who uses visual effects better than just about any other director ever. But what's so compelling about the movie is, everything that we get before we get the special effects, because that's just, the final hour of the movie. We have what I think is a very compelling romance between, Kate Winslet as this sort of upscale, upper class, well-off, young woman, and Leonardo DiCaprio as, the sort of young rogue who wins his ticket in a card game and ends up sweeping her off her feet away from her, dull, upper class, stuffy boyfriend played by Billy Zane. And yeah, like I said, you just get swept away. That's really the only phrase there is to use. There's a great sort of frame narrative about this diamond, and Gloria Stewart obviously getting an Oscar nomination for her role. And it all comes together in that, final hour, which, it's the 24 years old now or something. And it's still one of the most, thrilling special effects sequences that you'll watch in a movie. It holds up so well. And I'm glad that, I do think people have started to come around a little bit on Titanic in recent years. Like there was a phase where people were like, "Oh, this movie is overrated. It's super cheesy," and now I think people are starting to appreciate it again as the sort of throwback to old Hollywood epics that it is. And so I definitely want to take this one off the board now because I know that one or more people probably would have wanted it. It's a wonderful movie.
Me, number one for sure. Yeah, like I said, I thought it would get back around to me. Like I said earlier, there were 2 movies I saw multiple times in the theaters back in 1997. Good Will Hunting was one. And I kid you not, I saw Titanic over 20 times in the theater. I was like the prime target
That's a lot of
audience.
hours.
It is, but you want to know what?
A
You
lot
come
of
home from
money.
basketball practice and you just got to like chill and relax. You want to know what? I'm going to put my feet up and go to the theaters and watch Titanic again and let my knees rest. Is basically what my thought process was behind that. But yeah, like give me all the cheese. Everyone knows I love rom-coms like this. Yeah, this was tailor-made for me. I have a big ass like Subway poster at my parents' house still in the tube. Was a Christmas present. I'm saving it. Maybe it'll be worth something someday. I don't know. But yeah, totally adore this movie. Don't care what anyone says. I will ride with Jack Dawson and Rose DeWitt Bukater till the day I die. So glad they did not use the alternate ending, if anyone's ever seen that, with them on the boat with Bill Paxton and Gloria Stewart, where they had a different kind of outcome with the Heart of the Ocean. If you've never seen it, check it out. You'll realize they made a correct decision in not going with that ending for the movie. But yes, great movie, great pick. Jealous that you have him on your squad. But anyone else want to comment on Titanic?
So I will do so with a caveat. I am one of those people who thinks Titanic is lame, but with the caveat that the last time I saw it, I still had to watch it on 2 VHS tapes.
Yeah, I have it somewhere. I have the 2 VHS tapes still.
So it's been a while since I watched it, but I do remember. I do remember being very impressed by the entire ship sinking sequence, just the scope of it is still impressive to this day. And I mean, and like you said, James Cameron is one of the best directors ever when it comes to utilizing special effects. It's just, I've come around on liking more sort of like romantic stuff in my adult life as I've experienced romance myself, which I had not when I had seen Titanic. But I still think that it would be interesting to rewatch it. But we were talking about movies that just like really moved, that are long but really move like at a really quick clip. This is not one of those movies. You feel the length for sure, and I think that's part of the issue that I had with it, is like not just having to watch it on 2 VHS tapes, but just like feeling like it was 3+ hours and just like, come on, get to the ship sinking already. Like, and this was before I thought DiCaprio was a good actor. I didn't think he was a good actor until Catch Me If You Can.
Did you not see Once Again Gilbert?
After I saw Catch Me If You Can. Yeah, so I know this was like very much on Peggy's list. Scott, I'm a little bit surprised, but obviously had to scramble after Boogie Nights. So decided to snipe somebody else.
Touche, pussycat.
I will say I was gonna risk Peggy going before me because I figured this might be your number one, and Good Will Hunting could then follow me. But she could have done what she did do, which is, well, Titanic, I can wait. You know, so she could have done Good Will Hunting and then Titanic.
That's what I would have done, Garth. You made the right decision.
Yeah, this one isn't for me. As I've shared before, and I'll share again, I go overboard on these things and listed out like
no pun intended.
No pun intended. Yeah.
But and so I listed out like 40 movies from 1997 and put them in order, and Titanic isn't in my top 40.
Ouch.
That's how much I'm like.
Not on my list either.
Not a fan of it.
Letterbox.
Very anti-Red Star line.
I'm not a big rom-com fan. I'm not a big. For me though, I love Titanic, but it's the majesty of the era and you can just tell the amount of passion that Cameron had for the project, for the amount of work that goes into it. I mean, the guy dove to the bottom of the goddamn ocean to film it all as well. So it literally went to the bottom of the ocean for this movie. I love it. I will watch it time and again. I've watched it several times, not recently, but this would have been my second choice of a first choice, if that makes any sense. So you pair down.
That's how it was for me, too.
Both mine now. Yeah, I love it. It's not my go-to genre, but it is one that I will sit and watch.
And kind of off topic, but still on topic. If you've never seen Bill Burr's stand-up bit about why men get paid more than women, and he references the movie Titanic in regards to that, check it out.
And also watch his bit on cruise ships and how singing them is a good thing.
But he talks about the guy who like falls and bangs off of the propeller and starts flipping. He's like, I'd be that dude. But anyways, I digress. Dave, close out round one for us. What is your first overall pick?
Right, my first overall pick was going to be LA Confidential. Then it was going to be Titanic. So I'm on my third number one pick. It's another one that's very stylish, very stylized. It's Fifth Element. It's another film that I absolutely adore. Mia Jovovich is absolutely phenomenal in it. Yeah, the only slight part that really for me is sort of Chris Rock going overboard. Sorry, Chris Rock. I always get those two. Yeah, that's a little bit too OTT for me, but from start to finish with everything else, I adore it. So yeah, that's my first pick is Fifth Element.
Tony?
It's my favorite sci-fi film of all time. I adore this film with passion. Like you say, you hate Chris Tucker in it. He's one of my favorite parts. Just like everything about his character is just like overborn and just like, yes, I want more of you. I want to see him in life, just like everything else. Just like, and it probably is my favorite Bruce Willis film, even above Die Hard and all them. Just like I feel that he just captures a lot more of just like the action mixed with the humor and just like and the diva scene. That's some of the most beautiful things you'll ever see in cinema.
Diva Plava Laguna.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, it's always great when Bruce Willis cares. And this is definitely one where he definitely cared, like while making this movie. I like this movie too. It was like lower on my list, but it was there.
It was low on my list as well.
It's kind of amazing that this like movie got made and was sort of allowed to be a little bit. I mean, a little bit like Guardians, I guess, but just in terms of like the sort of like the singular vision that you have from Luc Besson with this movie, it's kind of amazing it got made because it never ever would today. This is like a classic example of that, I think. And yeah, great visuals. Always loved to see Ian Holm kill it. And Gary Oldman. Need I say more? John Baptiste Emmanuel Zerg. I mean, good God.
This wound up being Dave's third. This was my third. I love this movie. Luc Besson did a brilliant job with the design of the aliens and the weapons and everything, making it very unique. The fact that she just gets, cloth wrapped around her, and it turns out to be this cool thing, multi-pass and all that. It's a very well done movie. Right out of something like the old heavy metal comics I used to read. Right out of that. So love it. Too bad he messed up on Valerian.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. It's a fun movie. Luc Besson's hyperactive style doesn't always work in every single movie for me, but I think in the world that he creates, it's well suited to that world. I think Chris Tucker, he had a good 1997. Let me put it that way.
He did.
With a couple movies that he was in, but but yeah, no, this is a fun one, even if it was not super high on my list.
And a fantastic way to close out round one, which took us almost 40 minutes to get through. So give us a recap of round one, and we'll head on into round two.
Absolutely. All right, so round one, Garth went first. He went with Good Will Hunting. Peggy went with Boogie Nights. Jake went with LA Confidential. Scott went with Titanic. And Dave went with The Fifth Element.
All right, Dave, right back at you, buddy. What is your second pick?
Okay, my second pick. The rest of these now are a lot more personal ones for me. They might not be the most, might not be the best for everybody. They might not be the most successful during the decade, during the year. This one has two of my favorite actors of all time in. One who has continually reinvented himself, even up to modern day. Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino, Charlize Theron, Devil's Advocate.
That's fine.
Okay.
Insane movie.
So
it is. It's absolutely insane. It's totally bonkers. Al Pacino going OTT as Satan, as the devil. God is an absentee landlord. The whole spiel he gives. Just for me, I will sit. It's another one that I own, and I will sit and I'll watch this every now and again and enjoy it every single time.
I've seen this movie. I remember enjoying it, but this is the first pick of the draft that is not on my draft board, which is interesting. I'm sure it's on a few of you fellas' draft board.
It was going to be an honorable mention, maybe. I just watched this movie for the first time ever, like 2 weeks ago. And yeah, this movie is absolutely bananas, like in every conceivable way. Like just some of the there's like the scene in the dressing room when Charlize Theron is like trying stuff on, and like the I think she's like the wife of one of the people who works at the firm, just like all of a sudden just turns into a demon, and like nobody else sees it except for her, and it's like really freaky. And like Jeffrey Jones like getting mugged in the park, but I will say, all-time awesome needle drop at the end of Paint It Black. It's just absolutely perfect. But yeah, this movie is like completely batshit. It's amazing that it exists. I wouldn't call it a great movie. Keanu may be slightly miscast, but Pacino. It's all about Pacino. I just wish he was in more of the movie. He doesn't come in until like maybe an hour into the movie, where he's like really becomes part of it. But
and his name is John Milton, in case you don't get the reference. Yeah, this movie's crazy. I mean, of course I love a good movie that involves lawyers and the law in some fashion, albeit very tangentially in this movie. But Keanu doing his Cajun accent, whatever it is, but it's something. But it's entertaining. Like I tend to like a lot of the 90s style of over the top, as you may see, depending on whether I get to pick a particular movie. But yeah, it's not one I would have picked probably, but it's an entertaining one-time watch.
That's fair.
It is interesting that 97 did have quite a few legal films involving the law and legal stuff. That isn't exactly, shall we say, the typical.
Enough, Tony. That's enough.
But this one was way down on my list. Not my cup of tea. I like parts of it, but yeah, it was just not one I go back to.
Well, the world don't move to the beat of just one. I always sing that every time everyone's like, "That might be." I'm like, "Yeah, what might be right for you might not be right for some, motherfucker." Anyway, so Dave takes Devil's Advocate off of the board. That takes us back over to Scott for his second pick. Scott, take it away.
Don't you?
All right. Well, I'm going with another sci-fi movie, one of my favorites of all time. It's a movie that I first watched in college, actually, for a class that I took called Religion and Sci-Fi. And I'm not sure that there's a movie that blends those two better than Contact, which is Robert Zemeckis' 1997 film. This movie really paved the way, I feel like, for a lot of sci-fi movies in the 2010s that I love, like Arrival and Interstellar. I feel like there's a lot of the sort of compassionate, like, view towards this alien race, and like we want to try to understand them. We don't want to, it's not like some sort of extraterrestrial war going on or anything like that. And yeah, this movie, but like the central conflict of the movie is Jodie Foster, right, as this very empirical, data-driven like scientist who is just all about the science and the facts, and then Matthew McConaughey as a much more spiritual guy who believes that there is some sort of higher power who is also affecting what is going on in the universe. And I find that to be just a really interesting sort of conflict that we see develop over the course of the movie. And I think Zemeckis does such a great job of acknowledging both sides in an empathetic way. I think the place that this movie ends up, I think, is validating to people on both sides of this, debate, the science versus religion debate, and suggests that these two things can coexist. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, which is something that absolutely resonates with me. And I find the performances really strong. I think, I mean, this is probably my favorite Jodie Foster performance. I think she's excellent. I don't like that one movie as much as some people do, but we're not gonna talk about that here. But yeah, Contact is a beautiful movie and an emotional sci-fi movie. It's a movie that really like focuses on the humanity as much as it does, the supernatural. And so that's why it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, this was number 23 on my draft board. I'm assuming higher on maybe Jake's board?
I've never seen it all the way through.
Wow.
Like I remember watching it, waiting for something to happen. And it's yes, Jodie Foster's great in it. It's just not. It's not for me. But it's
They should have sent a poet is such a great one-line quote that has endured from this movie too, I would say.
And for me, I really, really love the book, so I had high hopes for the movie, and I do like it. I have watched it more than once. So it's a good movie, but for me, it was further down on my list. Yeah, I'm when you said you don't like that other Jodie, you don't like Nell? No? Right.
That was definitely not the one I was referring to.
I'd like Contact.
Maverick is the best. Sorry.
So, I like Contact, but I kind of wish that we got the George Miller version instead, because he got fired from it because he wanted to rewrite the script like 6 weeks before shooting and have the Pope as one of the lead characters. So it's just like, okay, George, just go play pigs now. Just like, I would want to see that movie so much, just George Miller directing a character of the Pope. Just like, yes, let's do all the religious
stuff. In the city, so he rebounded nicely.
He did all right for himself.
Like the Mad Max stuff. He's not bad.
Right. All right, so Scott takes Contact. Jake, what is your second pick?
Okay, I'm between two, but I'm thinking of going towards the one I thought Scott was going to snipe from me. It is, I'm not going to belabor the point. It's my third favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. I'm picking Jackie Brown. Speaking of Chris Tucker, very small role, but memorable.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, of course.
Yeah. This is, I think some of it comes from the fact that it's Tarantino adapting somebody else's source material. In this case, Elmore Leonard, who has had some other awesome movies adapted from his work. Get Shorty, Out of Sight, especially, and then the show Justified is also fantastic. But this one, I think, because it's Tarantino directly adapting somebody else's work, it feels like the most human of Tarantino's movies. It's not there is like some of his like metatextual business going on with certain things, but for the most part, it's really stylized in terms of like the dialogue, like the Tarantino dialogue, where you have like the great repartee between De Niro and Samuel L. Jackson, especially. I mean, who would have thought that they would just make such a great odd couple? And then Robert Forster, man, I miss that dude.
So good.
Absolutely incredible. Very much deserved Oscar nomination for his performance as Max Cherry. Just such a great, unconventional romantic lead. Okay, it's good. Anyway, yeah, it's so sweet, the romance that develops between Max Cherry and the titular Jackie Brown. Yes, Rum Punch is the name of the book that Tarantino's adapting. But like, yeah, you have like a lot of the referential stuff, especially with Pam Grier being in the title role, is very much purposeful, like calling back to her 70s heyday when she was like taking down the man. Yeah, it just is it's just so much fun. Like another really stacked ensemble cast. You have Michael Keaton playing, I believe he's a U.S. Marshal. He shows up again as the same character in Out of Sight. De Niro, Bridget Fonda is great as the Ditz. Yeah, I just think it's maybe it's the most sort of, it might be the most straightforward of Tarantino's movies, but it doesn't make it any less enjoyable because he's still operating at such a high level, and it just puts a smile on my face just because it proves that maybe Tarantino could have done like more romance in his movies, because Jackie and Max are just a great screen couple, and this movie's fantastic.
Well, see, this was number 24 on my list. It's been like, I don't think I've seen this one since it came out in theaters. Honestly, I think I need to revisit it and soon. But Garth, you were gonna say? Oh, sorry, Tony. Go ahead.
I was gonna say quickly. I would argue this is probably one of the most important Tarantino film, because it was his first time going into like a genre. Like Pulp Fiction was kind of its own thing. Reservoir Dogs was kind of like, it was still playing by the rules, but whereas this was like going to the blaxploitation style films. Then because this did well, then we got Kill Bill, then we got Django Unchained, then we got Inglourious Basterds, and everything. Pretty much everything Tarantino has done since this film has been because of the success of Jackie Brown.
And for me, being the older, like seeing, obviously, changing the title to Jackie Brown is a nice callback to Foxy Brown and the earlier Pam Grier stuff. And how she's still this iconic black actress and these roles.
She's awesome.
And Robert Forster can do no wrong. I mean, I'm the old guy who loves him in Black Hole, that bad Disney sci-fi movie that most people hate. He was the original Star-Lord. Look up the Robert Forster Black Hole. Anyways.
I hear Jackie Brown, I think of the Richard Pryor in The Toy when he applies for a job. Anyways, sorry. I digress.
Yeah. But, and as Jake was saying, because it's based on someone else's work, you don't get as much Tarantinoisms. There's a lot in the Samuel Jackson De Niro stuff where you're like, okay, that's Tarantino, but a lot of it is someone else's language that he's interpreting, and it's interesting.
Yeah, Pam Grier is just like the definition of cool in this movie. Like the opening is one of my favorite openings to a movie, where it's just her going down the conveyor belt at the airport, and where 110th Street is playing. I just like love. I could watch that like on a loop for like an hour probably, because it's just effortless, which is what Tarantino does. And then Robert Forster is wonderful. I agree with what Jake said. This is like the type of grounded character that you don't ever see in Tarantino's movies, as great as they all are. Like there's so many larger than life characters, and there's so many great performances, but everyone like, it's cartoonish. That's the way that Tarantino makes movies. But like Robert Forster, Max Cherry, like he just seems like a real guy in this movie. And I love like his final reaction to like her driving away after he's told her that he's not going to go with her on vacation. And there's just like that little bit of regret on his face at the end. It's great acting, and it's middle of my Tarantino rankings probably, but we're talking about somebody who's only made one movie that I don't really like.
Ooh, what's that one movie?
The Hateful Eight.
Yep.
Interesting.
I agree with
Dave, any thoughts before we Peggy?
To be honest, I watched it once when it first came out, and it didn't stick with me enough. I've not watched it since. It's not my favorite. It's not my least favorite of his work. It is.
Just quick before Peggy give her answer. If you are interested in Tarantino, the documentary QT8, The First Date, is really interesting. It's on Amazon Prime over here. I watched it last week, and it was like, it's actually really fascinating looking through his work.
All right.
But with that,
Yep.
Mr. Gubbins, your second
Yep. Okay, so playing a little strategy here because I know there's a movie that I would take, but I don't think Garth is going to take the movie because he's the only one between me and that pick. So I'm going to pick the other one that he might take before it gets back around to me. So I'm going to take a movie where it's a guy who's kind of going through a quarter life crisis. His life has gone one particular way, and he starts to develop a bit of a conscience and gets put on assignment that kind of coincides with the 10-year high school reunion. And he tries to figure out which way, like it kind of gets to the fork of which way his life is going to go. I am taking the John Cusack classic, Grosse Point Blank. Yay! I'm so excited I get it. If you don't know this movie, it's John Cusack, Minnie Driver. Minnie Driver's like his former high school sweetheart. He kind of reconnects with when he gets back into town. There's a cameo from Jeremy Piven because that never happens. John Cusack and Jeremy Piven in the same movie in the 90s. That never happens. So it's a rarity, and you might want to enjoy it. But no, fantastic soundtrack. If anything, the soundtrack might be better than the movie. But it is one of the ones that are just like, if it's ever on, I'm like, I'm just going to watch the rest of this because I love this movie. So I'm very happy that it fell to me. And Grosse Point Blank is now on my squad. Garth, was this what you're going to take next?
Yep.
Yeah, touche for Animal Hunting.
Yes, this was my number 2. Yep. Yes. Yeah, no, as you mentioned the music, and not only is the soundtrack great, but it's cued to every scene. Like it purposely, when he hears the remake of Live and Let Die by Guns N' Roses, it's where his house was torn down and there's a new thing in its place. And it's disturbing. And so it's like this realization. And when he's fighting the other assassin, the mirror in the bathroom's playing, like the reflection of himself. And he sees like, oh, this is what I really am. I'm not a normal person. I'm a killer like this guy. And the holding the baby and everything about this movie is wonderful. Dan Aykroyd, John Cusack, poor Alan Arkin as his therapist. Oh, that's brilliant.
His sister as his secretary.
Yeah, with all the stacks of money under the desk, It's just a brilliant movie. And Minnie Driver, of course, but good grabbing it, Peggy, before it got to me. Oh well.
Anybody else want to chime in on Grosse Point Blank? Or have you not seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah. If I had seen it since I was in high school, it probably would have been higher on my list. But I did really like it when I saw it the first time. And it's only fitting that Garth gets the Boston movie, you get the Chicago movie.
That was Detroit. It's in Michigan, but it's all right.
I thought it was Chicago. But
Peggy is apparently from Michigan. So
yeah, according to Alice, I'm from Detroit, so that's cool.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. That proves to you how long it's been since I've seen the movie. But I mean, John
might be
Cusack.
thinking High Fidelity. High Fidelity is Cusack in Chicago.
Yes, but I do. I mean, this was like Cusack was just on a heater at this point in his career. So, yeah, this is a good pick. Definitely on my list.
And Scott, you said you have not seen this one?
I think I'd really like it, but I haven't seen it yet. No, I know I need to get to it.
I think you will enjoy it. Put it on the to-do list. Wherever your queue is, add it to the bottom of the list and get to it.
I will.
Cool.
Yeah, there's no bad people in this. Everyone is up to point.
Yeah, this for me hit really well with me. It was a part when I was just getting into action movies a lot, obviously the testosterone boy and everything else. Flying into that. But the fight scene at the reunion in the school corridors was, I was used to watching Steven Seagal movies and Jean-Claude Van Damme movies where it's very choreographed and it's very, I'm swinging my legs all these degrees here.
Don't you dare slander Van Damme in front of me.
But now that fight in there was so real, and it was a down and dirty fight. It wasn't a dance. It was a brawl, and it was brilliantly brutal. And just what for me, one of my favorite parts of that was just how they choreographed it.
Yeah, definitely. And it was harkening back to like they're in a high school in the front. That's how like you'd picture like high school kids with, you know, like just the down and out gritty, bam, bam, bam. And you know, the mirror, as I said before, the mirror in the bathroom playing, him realizing that, you know, I'm this guy. I'm not a normal person. I can have a normal life. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah. If you guys out there in the chat have not seen it yet, I highly recommend you put it in the queue, much like I just suggested Scott do as well. Over to Garth to close out round 2. Sorry to snag that pick from you, but you got to have something else on the board. Let's go. What you got?
Dang it, Peggy. All right. Well, I got props for my next pick.
Garth having props? That never happens.
Unheard of.
Shocking.
So this one, you took 1 Cusack.
Okay.
Another Cusack.
Oh, no. No.
Oh man, this was gonna be my next one.
I hope that's plastic.
But
Me too.
I'm taking
Bunny.
I hope that's a squirt gun.
Yeah.
Guys, put the money back in the bag.
I was
And
the Winter Soldier one year, and cops like pulled me over. So.
I legitly did not put Con Air on my list because I figured that was just going to go to one of the other guys just really fast. I'm just like, not even a chance.
Yeah, so you got one John Cusack, so I'll grab this one.
That's fair. That's fair.
You know, and Nicolas Cage, you know, doing picking to choose that accent. You know, he had fun with it. But really, really fun movie. All the characters in it. You know, people some over the top, some like Steve Buscemi, you know, steals the show. And just everyone. Dave Chappelle, you know, so on, so on. Can't say enough about it. Fun movie, and I hope Anthony, wherever you are, I hope you're happy.
I was about to
Yeah,
say
you got Anthony's vote in the poll, 100%.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Garth, there's only 2 men I trust. One of them's me, and the other one is not you. After that pick, I have to say, this was going to be my next pick. I think this movie is the best. This is one of my favorite action movies. I love the 90s for action movies and like the Jerry Bruckheimer produced stuff, because I think a lot of, and this movie in particular, like knows exactly what it is. Like, you don't cast this, like it literally just like the Hall of Fame of insane actors. You don't cast all of them in the same movie unless you know exactly what kind of movie you're making, and everyone knew that. And that's what makes it so entertaining. I mean, like, I will watch this, you know, 50. Is it stupid? Is it cheesy? Absolutely. But I will watch this 50 times before I watch, you know, your average Netflix boring action movie that, you know, has no sense of humor or, you know, like Without Remorse, which I just watched on Amazon Prime, just went in one ear and out the other. I mean, that was just like so dull compared to something like this. I think action movies nowadays would do well to sort of capture the spirit that something like Con Air had, because it's in pure insanity. But I mean, I love watching it.
Yeah, this was one of 2 movies I was considering with my next pick as well. Yeah, this is one of my favorite 90s action movies also. Just, I think what everybody says kind of sums up my feelings about it. Just that, like, it doesn't take itself too seriously and is all the better for it. I mean, yeah, there's some stuff that doesn't hold up, namely everything about Danny Trejo's character. But yeah, it's just like such an interesting ensemble of actors. Like Scott said, like I thought he was going to make the Murderer's Row pun, but I'm going to do it instead, which is fitting for this movie. Just because, like, yeah, like John Malkovich, Ving Rhames, Dave Chappelle, Steve Buscemi, John Cusack, and you got some great
Anara.
Yeah, I know. And the fact that like the climax takes place in Vegas. I mean, come on. Right up my alley. But yeah, and just like even some of those, like you get some of those like really good that guys, like Cole Meany is like the guy, the agent with the car who's like obsessed with his car.
MC Gainey, yeah.
MC Gainey is the pilot. also great. Michael T. Williamson as I forget the character's name, but he's the diabetic who's like friends with Poe.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just so much fun, and yeah, I'm sad it's gone.
And I know Anthony Tisdale's not in the chat right now, but should he watch this later, you can stop screaming at us now. It's been picked, okay? You can stop screaming at all of us.
Round 2, baby.
The interesting thing for this as well is this was Simon West's directorial debut. Firstly, having to deal with all those crazy bastards, and also just like the expanse of what Con Air is. It's just like for the guy that Simon West's most prominent thing prior to this movie was Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley, the music video.
Yep.
That was literally, that was it. That was his career up to then. It was just like, and
out.
somehow he managed to pull it out.
And there's a brilliant interview with Simon West where he talks about when Nicolas Cage was like doing the accent and going, this is the way I want to go. And he was too scared to say no. Like, here's the star of my movie, this blockbuster movie that's in my hands. I can't tell him that's a bad accent. I can't tell him that no one, he's like, let him do it.
And speaking of great interviews about this, if anyone's ever listened to How Did This Get Made, the one about, whenever they interviewed Danny Trejo, and they asked him basically, who was the person in this cast that you were the most afraid of? You have Nicolas Cage, you have all these people we've named, like these insane actors, and he without hesitation just goes, John Cusack was his answer to the question of who he was most afraid of when he showed up on set, because Cusack is just a weird guy, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see that.
But yeah, brilliant year for Cusack,
But solid pick to close out round 2. It is now taking us an hour and 6 minutes to get to 2 rounds. We got to speed this shit up, guys. All right. All right. Recap time, Tony.
All right. So Dave went first this round. He went with Devil's Advocate. Scott went with Contact. Jake went with Jackie Brown. Peggy went with Grosse Point Blank. And Garth went with Con Air. So as we go to the third round, and just quickly, before I forget to do this at the end, next week episode of Fantasy Film Fights is Susan Sarandon and Ian Davis. So if you are interested in that, please sign up. And also thank you for Melissa for making that.
Yes, Melissa Woody, very good at the
Very
graphics.
talented. Very talented.
Mm-hmm. Garth, round 3, kick it off. Let's go. What you got?
All right.
Don't take my pick.
I don't know if I don't think I will. I think mine, we've already got my top 4 have already been picked. So I think my 5 and my 6, I don't know. I want to save them for later because I don't think other people will pick them, but I'm scared to lose them too.
Pick with your heart, Garth.
Pick
out
your head.
What's your heart telling you?
I don't know about this crew. I don't think they pick either of these two. However, just in case, my next pick is Princess Mononoke.
God damn it!
Good pick.
Okay. At least one of you. Okay.
God.
Right.
My favorite part of their show is when people lose their shit on a pick.
Good. At least one of you. All right. I was going to let it wait maybe 4th round. But all right. Good.
Doesn't sound like it would have been there.
Yeah. All right. So I love animation and anime, and Studio Ghibli is the height of it for me. And just brilliant movie, beautiful movie. The every frame of it you can make a poster out of, and all the little forest creatures. I have like these little glow in dark versions of them where their heads pop. I just love this movie over and over, and can't get enough of it. And I'm glad I got that reaction out of you, Jake.
I hate you so much. Like, this was my next pick.
Okay, good. I'm glad I didn't wait on it then.
You took my next 2 picks, which were Con Air and Princess Mononoke.
Woo!
Yeah. So it turns out Garth was the one I had to worry about and not Scott. But yeah, this was. I had to rewatch this movie recently for Full Metal. Yeah, it's one of the most gorgeous animated movies you'll ever see. And it's probably my. I need to rewatch Spirited Away, but it's probably my favorite Miyazaki movie. It's just talk about like epic storytelling. You don't really see it in animation quite like this. I mean, this movie is over 2 hours. That's unheard of for an animated movie, but it earns every second of the runtime because it's just such a compelling story. The visuals are next level. I mean, the whole climax, especially when the forest god finally comes to life, it's just really breathtaking. And just Irontown just is like really cool, and it's like you want to learn more about Irontown and just sort of how that whole ecosystem works. I mean, you get a good portion of it, but it just seems like there's so much still there that doesn't get fleshed out as much. But yeah, this is a phenomenal pick. This is a phenomenal movie. I'm really annoyed that you took it.
I'll keep it brief. Fantastic pick. This is in my top 3 or 4 from Miyazaki, and I really want a spinoff just about the women of Irontown because they're one of the best parts of this movie. Yeah, this was high on my list. Good pick, Garth.
I'll be even briefer. Not seen it.
I was about to say, I need to rewatch it because I watched pretty much all of Miyazaki's work in the span of like 72 hours, and this one was the one that really didn't. I might have just been tired. I might have just been overkill, but this was the one that I was just like, it's fine. I wasn't that overblown with it. I was underwhelmed by it because of how everyone talks about it, saying it's one of his greatest works. It's like, but I think it might have just been that I was just like, yeah, I watched like Porco Rosso Kiki's Delivery Service right before it. Just like, of course, it's gonna struggle to live up to that because they are two of the greatest.
Also great.
Kiki's is my favorite.
Cat Bus is God.
Oh, Cat Bus is the best part.
All right. My turn for round 3. Okay, so let me just put an explanation out here. There's one that I want to pick for my 3rd round pick, but I'm pretty sure it's going to get back around to me again. We'll see if Scott takes it from me again. He may. I don't know. So I'm going to go with a pick that I don't think is going to make it back around to me. And this is a movie where I think it kind of gets a bad rap for the sins of its sequels. Because when this movie first came out, it was like the biggest thing of the summer. It's so big, it had its own theme song that was a #1 hit. I am taking the Will Smith classic Men in Black.
I have to scramble again. God damn it. That was my
And I mean, some of the sequels were lacking, to use a term, but the original movie was so just like, for lack of a better term right now, original. And like Will Smith knocks his role out. Why am I blinking on Fugitive? Thank you. Tommy Lee Jones. Rip Torn as Zed or whatever his name was, is the head of the whole thing. Just like the small role he played was great. The aliens, all the different characters. Is it Tony Shalhoub that works in the? Is that Tony Shalhoub that works in the thing and gets his head shut off? And he's like, "Don't you know how much that stings?" So brilliant. Vincent D'Onofrio as the bug, so gross, but he plays it so well. Though I have to take this one off the board because I'm sure one of these gentlemen would have taken it before it got back around to me. So I am taking with my 3rd overall pick, Men in Black. Gentlemen, have at it.
So I'm gonna have to go to my like 4th, 3rd pick, because this would have been my next pick too. Yeah, it's so creative. It's like a great spin, a great sci-fi spin on the buddy cop genre. Talk about like, yeah, you would never think that Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones would work together in a movie, but they are absolutely perfect. I think Tommy Lee Jones, kind of like Bruce Willis, is also somebody who, like, when he cares, is great. And he he's playing totally deadpan, but he's fantastic in this. Yeah, this is.
Don't call me kid or sport. All right, it's like,
yeah, it's so creative. Just coming out of every pore of this movie. Just so much creativity, and yeah, fantastic pick.
Yay.
I'm just curious as to who you've been talking to that slags off the sequels, because 2 and 3 are absolutely fantastic, and there's only been 2 sequels to Men in Black.
I don't know. It just feels like the movie, just because the sequels were not as successful as the original, it just kind of feels like it kind of gets dismissed on some sort of level. I don't know. It's just a gut feeling about people's reactions to it. I could be wrong.
And yeah, this was gonna be my 4th round pick. So
it wouldn't.
Yeah, I figured it wouldn't get back around.
It wouldn't have been.
no,
But I've got plenty for my 4 and 5 to choose from, so I'm happy.
I'm the comics nerd who has all the original comics.
Wow.
I was a fan of them. It's not all aliens. It's other stuff too. But so they focused on the aliens part of it. Basically, Men in Black in the comics are the government guys who investigate where they do Bigfoot and other stuff too. But brilliant movie. All the actors are great. One of my favorite, he ran an encephalopod down on foot, just and then all the testing where it's just like, moving the table, and then the shooting the little girl with the books. All those things where it's like shows that he's this unique guy. He thinks differently outside of the box, not the standard military guy. Great, well written movie, well directed, great music. Love it.
Yeah, this isn't really my type of thing, but I had a great time with this the one time I watched it. I've never seen any of the sequels because I hear that I haven't heard what Tony has heard. I do hear that they're not that good. But yeah, no, I had a really fun time watching this. It's a good movie. So good pick.
Yeah, this is peak Will Smith being young Will Smith. He is written into his contract. He must have the theme tune to this. He will release it. It's Mr. Nicey Nicey, Big Willie style. Yeah, it's a great popcorn movie. I love it. It wouldn't have got to your 4th round pick, Garth, because I would, if it had got round to me, it would have been one of my next 2. But yeah, the sequels aren't bad. They're just not as good as the first one. There is a lot of diminishing returns with them, but yeah, it's a great pick.
All right, cool. Happy everyone's on board with my pick. Jake, what are you taking for your number 3?
Okay, so my the last 3 movies that were picked were what I was going to take with my 3rd pick. So I'm kind of scrambling here. So I tend to, when I write my movies down, I put a star next to the ones that I really feel like I have to have if they're there. And there's only one movie left that has a star next to it. We talked about the star of this movie a couple of picks ago, Nicolas Cage. I am taking the other great 1997 Nicolas Cage action movie. I am taking Face Off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Face.
I have my list with everyone. Jeez.
Yeah, I especially... The whole movie is like bonkers in a devil's advocate kind of way, but way better, in my opinion. This is, again, like the great sort of cheesy 90s action movie that like I just wish there were more of being made right now, because like this movie is just so... Like the premise of this movie is just like you can't even... there isn't really like a good adjective to describe how insane the premise of this movie is. Just because nothing would really suffice. But to me, this is one of my favorite Nicolas Cage performances, especially before they switch faces, when Nicolas Cage is playing like pure uncut Castor Troy. It's just like, it's just him and all.
I could eat a peach for hours.
Yeah, I could eat a peach for hours that's... Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's Travolta as Cage, but still, like, I'm talking about like the opening in the airport, like when he's just sort of when he like
murders a child. Yeah.
Oh well, no! Before that, when he's like macking on the nun and he's doing like
he's in the priest
outfit. Where it's just like, yeah, he's just so deranged, and like everything about it is they're just like throwing shit at the wall. I mean, obviously John Woo. You have all the John Woo signatures in this movie. Doves,
big ones,
firing 2 guns whilst jumping through the air, to quote another favorite movie of mine. And all the slow motion that Zack Snyder can't do as well. My
favorite episode.
I can't believe I've never listened to How Does This Get Made. Talk about created in the lab for me. But anyway, Yeah, this movie is just an absolute blast. Yes, it's probably 20 minutes too long, but God, it's so much fun.
I just remember when this first came out, I wish that they would have figured out a way to make their like body types have not like transferred or like whatever. So it'd just be the face on like John Travolta's body, like figured out a way to do that, you know?
Or just make Travolta lose some weight, you know?
That's something. I don't know. It's just that pulled me out of like the buying into it wholeheartedly. I mean, that was just my own little thing, but
that's the joke with the new one they're going to do is that, you know, maybe do, you know, like something weird like The Rock and
Kevin Hart,
Jack Black or something.
So Jumanji.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a great choice. I echo everything I said about Con Air as to why I think this movie works. And yeah, I was going to say what Ryan said as well, that How Did This Get Made? That's my absolute favorite episode of How Did This Get Made? It's absolutely hilarious. So, yeah, go check it out.
Good pick. Jake takes Face Off. Scott, what will you be taking with your third round pick?
Okay. I'm going to stick with the franchise movie here. We've done a few of those recently. This is from one of my favorite horror franchises. No, you know what? It's my favorite horror franchise. I'll just come out and say it. And I think this is one of the best horror sequels of all time. Scream 2 is my choice.
There we go.
I think like this movie is so smart. Like the first movie, right? Like was groundbreaking because it was a horror movie that, you know, where they acknowledged horror movies, right? Where all of the characters were fans of horror movies. It was a horror movie about horror movies in a way. And so this is like a horror sequel about sequels, right? You know, you have a whole scene in the film class with Randy where there's this whole debate about what's the greatest, you know, film sequel of all time. And it's just, Kevin Williamson, again, his writing is, I love the meta stuff that he's able to do, particularly in the first two movies. I like all of the movies. I think the fourth one's really good as well. 3 is fine, but this movie that they managed to, you know, that they managed to make a sequel to a movie where you would have thought, like, I don't know, can they really replicate this again? Like, because the first one again was so specifically this meta thing. It was like, I don't know, like it's going to seem like a tired gag if they try to do this again. But they were able to freshen it up by making it about sequels. Of course, the reveal of the killer in the end is a nice sort of nod to Friday the 13th. And the opening sequence is, you know, as iconic to me, at least, as the opening of Scream 1 in the movie theater. Of course, later parodied in Scary Movie, that particular scene in grotesque fashion. But the whole Scream franchise is great, and I think this movie is almost as good as the first one, which is quite an achievement because the first one is one of my favorite movies.
You've made Melissa in the chat very, very happy with this pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a massive horror fan. The Scream franchise is the exception to that rule. I really do like every single one of them. So yeah, this was again. I'm scrolling out picks on my pad of paper. I've got more crossed out than I've got left alive now. So God help me.
Right.
Jake is muted.
Yep.
I'll speak for Jake.
No, you won't. No, you won't. I don't think I've ever seen this all the way through. I love the first Scream. I think it's one of the best horror movies in the 90s. I don't know why I haven't seen it. It's not readily available on streaming, otherwise I would have. But I love the first one. So I've seen 1 and 4, strangely. I have not seen 2 and 3 all the way through. But no, this is definitely like high on the list in terms of stuff I need to check out fully.
And for me, I'm not a horror guy, but I love the twist on this where it was exploring the tropes of horror and things like that. And also the little thing at the end where it's not just one. So there was nice twists. It was very unique. Not a fan of the sequels myself. And you'd think I was a bigger fan of this because I used to have Edvard Munch's The Scream poster on my wall, which the mask is based on. But not in my top 20.
No, nothing wrong with that. Like I said, different strokes, different folks. Scott takes Scream 2. Dave, over to you to close out round 3.
Yeah, as I said, I've got more crossed out than I've got left alive on my list right now. But this is sticking with films that I like personally rather than what's going to be on everyone's list. Yeah. I'm heading back to Al Pacino. It is Johnny Depp, Al Pacino, by the director of Four Weddings and a Funeral, I believe, Mike Newell. Yeah. It's Donnie Brasco.
Okay.
A true story. Okay, based on a book that was written as if it was a true story. How much of it actually happens or not is up in the air. But yeah, I'm a massive mark for mafia movies. Love The Godfathers. Even 3 has its plus points. Donnie Brasco fits right in there for me, and it is a film that another one that I own is part of my collection, and I do watch on occasions.
Yeah, I can't speak on this one. I don't think I've ever seen it, so it's one of those like just random gaps in my repertoire. So if anybody else can comment on this movie, have at it.
I actually haven't seen it either, but I should, because Al Pacino in the 90s has some of my favorite movies with
Johnny Depp. Like I don't know how I have not.
Carlito's Way, well. Heat, The Insider. Like this probably fits right in there, and so I need to check this out.
And I have seen it, and I really love it, and it was high up on my list. So good pick. It's really well done, and as Dave hinted at, it was thought to be a true story for quite a while. May not be, but still very interesting nonetheless. A great insight into undercover work. I love those undercover mob movies, and this fits right in.
It kind of was just a couple of years too late. It's a really good movie, but I think if it was released in the early 90s, it would be put up there with Casino, with Goodfellas as the best of these types of films. But because it was it had that enough time where it was just like on its own, really got that much attention. But it's probably one of Pacino's best roles, especially him doing that style of performance.
I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't have been able to contribute much anyway.
I'm the only other one who's seen it, or me.
Looks like it.
Wow.
It also has Bruno Kirby in it, and Bruno Kirby makes everything better.
Wait, I'm telling you. All right, well, that's good because that brings us to the end of round 3, and we got that one done in about 27 minutes. So we're getting faster, gentlemen. We're getting faster.
Peggy's clock watching up here.
Unfortunately, I'm supposed to be somewhere before this show normally ends at 7 my time. So yeah, I am kind of clock watching. No offense to you guys. I
all right.
need it elswhere when this ends.
You got better people to see.
Jen can wait.
We'll go to round 3 while Peggy embarrassed. All right, so Garth went first this round. He went with Princess Mononoke. Peggy went with Men in Black. Jake went with Face Off. Scott went with Scream 2, and Dave went with Donnie Brasco.
All right, gentlemen.
Now number picks.
Yep. Round number 4 commences. Dave, is there still one on the list not scratched off because you'll have time to regroup before your 5th pick?
Yeah, it's all good.
All right.
This one is one that is survived all the way through. It was never going to be a high pick, and I'm not surprised that no one else has took it. It stars another one of my favourite actors, of Morgan Freeman. It's another book adaptation. It's from one of my favourite authors, of James Patterson. It's Kiss the Girls.
Kiss the Girls. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It took me a second to get there, but yeah.
It's Dr. Alfred Cross is Morgan Freeman's character. Yeah, the whole series of book I own and have read and reread, and this one he plays the character perfectly well. It's a good who done it, but you know who done it because you can guess because it's written a mile away, but it's still entertaining to watch.
Fun fact for Schmodown fans, my second match, they asked me the Denzel Washington question, and Ashley Judd would not get out of my head. And I'm like, that's not Denzel. She's with Morgan.
Yes.
Yeah, and when you were saying Morgan Freeman based on a book, I thought you were going with Amistad.
Yeah.
So I thought
I've not seen that. But yeah, so yeah, Kiss the Girls, love it.
I'm shocked this one came up.
I think I saw it once on cable. Didn't leave a strong impact with me, but I respect you going for the personal picks.
Yeah,
Now, question, is this the first one, and then there's Along Came a Spider? Or was there Along Came a Spider and then this one?
Along Came a
Spider.
Okay.
This is picked more because my connection to the books. I have the series of the books. I love the books, and yeah, the books are better than the films, but they always are. But yeah,
Never seen it.
But yeah, this movie would not leave my head. And then there was a quote from the movie Definitely Maybe that was similar to the quote that would not get out of my head. So my brain just would not process anywhere else. And that's the only reason Rager won. I'm just kidding. But no, Kiss the Girls. Goes Dave. Oh, sorry, anyone else want to add?
No, I do like these movies. I myself, it's been a long time since I read the books, but I do like the movies, and they, surprised they haven't kept doing more.
Yeah,
they did reboot it. They rebooted it with a film called Alex Cross.
Yeah, with Tyler Perry involved.
Yeah.
That was okay. I personally, I like it Along Comes the Spider more than Kiss the Girls, but they're fine. They're good for what they are, but it's just
but Along Came a Spider wasn't released in '97, so I couldn't pick that one.
I know. I was just saying. All right.
Sorry, yeah, let's go. Move on. Thanks.
So Dave takes Kiss the Girls. Scott, what's your fourth overall pick?
All right. Well, it looks like the Princess Mononoke discourse has resumed. So I'm actually going to be choosing another anime film that came out in 1997. And this is Perfect Blue, directed by Satoshi Kon, Japanese director. He died very young, but, he made some other stuff like Millennium Actress, Tokyo Godfathers, some films that people who, watch anime movies, which I'm not somebody who's like a, savant when it comes to that stuff, certainly. But he's one of the bigger names out there. And this is maybe his most iconic film just because of how ahead of its time it was. This movie sort of like predicted stan culture in a way, or kind of like showed the dangers of stan culture before that was even really a thing, before Stan had been released, I think. I don't think Stan came out until like a year or two later, right? Yeah. But Perfect Blue is basically about a girl named Mima who's in a girl group, pop group, and she decides to leave the pop group while she's still young. She's going to become an actress, and she ends up being obsessively stalked by someone out there. Maybe it's herself, maybe it's the ghost of herself, maybe it's somebody on the internet. There's a whole thing about there's people on these message boards who are kind of obsessed with her. A lot of dudes, mostly, which again, ahead of its time. The internet was like just becoming a big thing in '97. So I think this movie is really impressive for that. It blurs the line between real and fiction really well, and I think it influenced a lot of live action. I mean, Darren Aronofsky's work is very influenced by this movie. I think Mulholland Drive and David Lynch also, there's some similarities there. And it's only 80 minutes long. So even if you're not the biggest fan of anime movies, I mean, again, I wouldn't say that I am. I just kind of like the major ones. This is worth checking out, because if you don't like it, you've only lost an hour and 20 minutes of your life.
Yeah. For those of you playing along, I'll let Tony go ahead and take this, because I know that's where he wants to lead into with your list. Digest the Cinema. Go ahead. It's a good option for under 90 minutes.
Oh yeah, it is. Also, there's the. I was actually thinking, what the hell is she on about?
Wait, he's segueing to me, and I don't know what.
There's also the film not done by Disney and DreamWorks, which this will work really well for. This one I heard really good things about it. Sadly, it's not really available in the UK, but it's available in the States on Hoopla. And also for like renting for Amazon and stuff like that. So the thing I heard the most about this, you mentioned Darren Aronofsky. He pretty much copied an entire scene from this film for Requiem for a Dream, and also he outright had to state No, I love this film, but Black Swan isn't inspired by it.
Yeah,
Please
Black
stop.
Swan is heavily influenced.
Oh yeah, he stole so much from it, but
Yeah. Oh,
I haven't
I'm
seen
listening,
this.
but the reaction from Jake. Go ahead.
Yeah, it came up in my research for this. I know Scott's BFF, Paul Oyama, is a massive fan of this movie. So I saw it on Letterboxd. But anyway, yeah, this is definitely one that seems like it would be up my alley. So I definitely will check it out down the road.
I don't think I've ever talked to Paul about this movie, to be quite honest. But
the way Jake reacted, I thought it was on his list.
Yeah, right. Me too.
Not like Princess Mononoke. That one I really want.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, this is a beautiful movie. Very well done, and there's nice mystery and twist elements to it to keep you interested. Not a straightforward sucker, you know.
And I've only recently started dipping my toes in the anime with like Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro. Like I'm still very much on the surface level. I'm working my way down. I'll add this one to the list.
Mhm.
I always do the like Studio Ghibli, Akira, you know, the like, you know, to get people. And Perfect Blue is a nice entry point as well.
you know it's a really good anime film. Just quickly, B-movie.
Be out next movie.
Do you like jazz?
Yeah, Be Out Now movie.
I have yet to listen to that episode. I'm kind of waiting for Friday so I can listen to that one and the new Digesting the Force. That
Yeah,
comes out.
really a virtuosic performance from Aaron on that episode. That is all I will say. Tour de force.
Get enough of Christina reacting to Star Wars.
It's
It hurts
fantastic.
her bones. It's like
I tried to convince her to tape it. I told her I would have edited it. Anyways, Jake, we're moving over to you for your fourth round pick. What you got?
All right.
Don't take my pick.
I can't. I probably won't if it's what I think it is. But I'm going to class up the joint a little bit because I'm going to go way off the reservation with my fifth pick. So this one is one that I think when we get to the most fuckable cast lists of fantasy film fights, this movie will be on the list because of the three main people. I'm picking Gattaca.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, nice choice.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean Ethan Hawke,
back in the
Jude Law.
day, even in the 90s, I was on
Yeah,
board.
Ethan in the 90s, Jude Law, even before Talented Mr. Ripley, was a beautiful man. Uma Thurman, always gorgeous. But no, this is a fascinating movie. Like, I think way ahead of its time, just in terms of the concept and talking about like genetics. So just really quickly, Ethan Hawke plays somebody who like desperately wants to go to space, but he's just genetically deficient in a society where genetic perfection is something that is basically required, and if you haven't achieved it, you're basically a complete outcast. So he basically conspires with Jude Law's character, who was I believe he was an astronaut, but he was in an accident. So he
was just fit. He was an athlete. He was a swimmer.
Yeah.
I watched this film earlier today for the first time.
Okay, he's a swimmer, but he got paralyzed from the waist down. So, but he's basically copying his genetic material in order to use it in order to get into the astronaut program to be an astronaut. But yeah, it's just a really, really interesting, ahead of its time sci-fi movie that I haven't seen in a long time. Really would love to rewatch, but I wanted it on my list just because I think it's one that, if people have not seen it, I think it's one more people need to watch, because I just think it's really interesting. And I mean, the eye candy in this movie is just about second to none.
Okay, confession time for you gentlemen here. It's been a while since I've seen Gattaca, and for the longest time, I had not seen Dog Day Afternoon. So anytime someone yelled Attica, I thought they were yelling Gattaca and referencing this.
There's a joke about that in the show The League, where
Is it really?
Where Jason Mantzoukas' character does exactly that, and it's hilarious. Yeah, Rafi, my king.
Oh,
Rafi.
I love the League. I don't remember that.
Yeah, when they're playing paintball, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
like, season 1 is great, and then just
Yeah.
anyway.
This is a cool movie. I I mentioned earlier that I watched Contact for a class in college. I actually watched Gattaca for the same class. It was called Religion and Sci-Fi. I don't know if I mentioned
Ah,
it
okay,
before,
that makes sense.
But we watched this, and this actually isn't one I've gone back to since then, like I did with Contact. But I think I would, like it even more maybe if I rewatched it. I mean, I'm a massive Ethan Hawke fan, so I think this was a cool movie from what I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I'm really shocked. So I watched it earlier today because I like Jennifer Carob had it in its ABC. So I thought, oh, this might come up, and so I'll give it a watch just to make sure I know what I'm on about. It does. I was shocked at how little sci-fi it was in terms of like there's not like much like of like weird aliens or anything like that. It's not a sci-fi film in that sense, but it's like very much a crime film, and that is so interesting. Just everything about it, and just the genetics and all that, and just the way, it's so wonderfully done, and just the twists and turns that the movie has is remarkable. It's one of those films where I'm just like, why the hell is it people not talking about this? Is one of the best movies of the 90s. Like, it's shocking how this fell off the cliff.
And I really enjoyed this thing. And for me, my favorite part was him trying to cover up who he really is. Where he has to vacuum up all his dead skin cells and hairs and make sure everything's cleaned up and burn everything at the end of the day in a furnace to make sure that, and scrub his skin with, wool, steel wool type, basically, whatever he's using. But basically it's like he has to go through this whole gritty, to hide his identity, to be like, I'm not who I am. I'm this other guy. And it's beautiful.
Okay. Little side note into the chat right now. This is a little something me and Tony discovered the other day. Chris said fuckable class will be episode 69. Let me tell you.
Amazing.
Can I say something, Tony, or should I keep
go ahead.
Okay.
No, go.
We discovered that episode 69 will take place on June 9th on 6/9. So that might very well happen. I haven't decided yet.
Wow.
It just kind of happened.
You have to
Sign up for that will be by this weekend. Sign up for next month will be up by this weekend.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely one everyone will be like,
right. But yeah, just kind of a funny little thing. Anywho, so okay, Gattaca goes on to Jake's squad, which brings us over to me. All right. Do I pick with my heart or do I pick with my head that someone else might want just to screw them over? I don't know yet.
Go with your heart. I think I know it. If you go with your heart, I think I know what you want.
So claims every man I've ever met, but they never get it right. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I will be the list. Yikes.
No, all right. Okay, I'm gonna take the one that I happen to that's still on my list. There's 3 on my list that I own. Never mind. Shit. Tough. You guys can't keep vamping about Gattaca for a few seconds.
You have a whole round to figure it out. I've been wanting to say this to you for a while. You have a whole round to figure out what you're gonna pick.
No, I just realized that I'm like, I could probably wait till round 5 to pick that.
When you watch the videos, you'll see me while other people are talking, going, "Oh fuck, they got that."
Yeah.
All right, you know what? I'll just pick with the one. I'll go with my heart because I tend to like rom-coms, and it would be a shame to have no rom-coms on my list, and it would be even a further shame to let a rom-com that takes place in Chicago pass me by. So yes, gentlemen, I am going to take My Best Friend's Wedding, as predictable as that pick may be. But it is one of my favorites. I mean, Julia Roberts is the villain in a rom-com. That's new a little bit, if you don't consider Notting Hill, which me and Tony have a whole thing about.
You're wrong.
I am not wrong. Anna Scott's a bitch. But okay, in this one, Jules is not that much better because she's trying to break up a marriage before it even happens. But somehow you're on her side somehow in this movie, at least a little bit. But anyways, I don't want to get too much into it. I want to see what the gentlemen think about this movie. I'm assuming that none of you had this on your list, and I would have been fine until.
I haven't seen it.
Okay, so definitely could have waited till the 5th pick. All right.
I thought you were going to go with a different rom-com.
Oh no, I might
was
still. I
worried.
might still.
Yeah,
I might still.
my next
But-
pick is a rom-com. So
But this one just it's a classic in my book. So.
Cameron Diaz is the most sympathetic character in cinema for this film. Just like,
Can't sing for nuts.
You just want to take your arm around her and just like, oh, you sweet poor summer child. Just like, I want to see a sequel of just about her, just like getting over this whole situation, just getting her life back on track. But yeah, Julia Roberts does this really fantastic thing of just being like,
That their 25th wedding anniversary and what has happened in the interim.
yeah, just like
they can do it.
true. But
Anyone
like,
writing scripts on spec out there, go ahead.
like Julia does this wonderful thing of just like any other actress, especially at that time, would have done it where it's just like, oh yeah, you're just a terrible person, you're a horrible person, but somehow she has that charm and just where it's just like you're there, it's like, oh yeah, you kind of want her to succeed even though it's a terrible thing she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
But she still sucks at Notting Hill.
Fuck you. Rupert Everett also is my spirit animal.
I do like Rupert
George
Everett
is
a
awesome.
lot, which makes me interested in seeing this because I like Rupert Everett a lot. Also, all the Dunstan checks in heads out there know what I'm talking about with Rupert Everett.
Dunstan checks in. Wow.
Didn't think that one was going to get brought up today.
1996, I believe.
All right. Well, since many of you gentlemen have not seen it, we will press on and go over to Garth to close out round 4. Garth, what you got?
All right. So because this is a snake draft, I get my 4 and 5.
That is correct, sir.
So I don't have
pick
to
one so far.
worry about anyone stealing anything.
Nope, you do not.
So I can go with my next pick, which I don't think any of you had on your lists. Maybe, but I doubt it. This one might please Tony. I don't know if he's seen it. I'm going with Shooting Fish.
Not familiar.
It's a British rom-com. It's Kate Beckinsale, Stuart Townsend, and Dan Potterman. Basically, Dan Potterman is this con man, and Stuart Townsend is his buddy who's a genius at inventing things and making the cons elaborate. Like he can make a fake computer that works for a while, but that isn't real. Getting investors to invest like $1 million into this new computer, but it's him in a box basically doing all the, stuff like that. All these they do like attic insulation, and the houses are connected by doors in the attic, so they do the whole insulation of one house. They come up, they see the insulation done, they undo it, they do it in the next house, and so it's just they have one set of insulation for all these houses, and all these great cons. Kate Beckinsale is a romantic interest for both of them. Get swept up in it, and it's a beautiful rom-com, and it's a really sweet movie. At least watch a trailer of it, and you might be like, oh.
That's fair. Yeah, I can't make any sort of comment. Anyone here has seen this one?
Never heard of it.
A while ago. It is a good, enjoyable watch. It's you have to hunt it out. It's not going to be one that's going to be readily available. But yeah, it's got some good performances. The dialogue's snappy. It's a good film. It's nowhere near my list, but yeah.
Right.
Bizarre ones on.
Yeah, this was one I figured like if it was anyone's list, it would be like number 30 or something. But it's one I really love. Kate Beckinsale, I really fell in love with her with this one.
I respect picks made with your heart, Garth. So.
Yeah.
So just quickly, for the States, it's available on Tubi and Plex for free, and over here, it's available on Amazon Prime for streaming. So I'll give it a watch. I like Kate Beckinsale.
Mm-hmm. And Stuart Townsend is brilliant as the genius inventor who's all shy and stuff.
But I'm just gonna say you got my hopes up there for a minute.
I was gonna say the movie that Tony wants has not been picked yet.
Yeah,
No,
if the
it's
movie
not.
doesn't get picked, everyone's gonna get shouted at.
I don't know what you want now. Give me a hint.
I know what he wants. I haven't seen it.
I do.
My fifth round, I could make it my 5th round, maybe.
All right, here we go. Let's quickly
I've
do.
seen the version that was later.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly do a recap of it as we go to the 5th round. So Dave went first this round. He went with Kissed Girls. Scott went Perfect Blue. Jake went with Gattaca. You went for my best friend's wedding, and Garth went for shooting fish.
All right, fifth and final round, gentlemen. This is where you solidify your team. This is where you round it out, or this is where you pick one that's off the wall, or one that you're surprised is still on the board somehow. However you need to round out your team, this is where you do it. Garth, what are you completing your team with?
All right, this one is a little tougher because I could go with a comics movie, but I don't really want to pick that one. So I got between those two, maybe I'm gonna go with Chasing Amy.
Okay.
Surprised it's still out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know,
list.
Yeah. Basically, it's, I really liked obviously as a comics artist, I like that exploration of it, the inker, oh, you're just a tracer, that does happen. And letterers and stuff don't get enough respect. But it's so fun insight into that kind of stuff. But exploring the whole like relationship stuff like that of like him not being able to put her past behind him, and how it's pretty biographical from Kevin Smith and his wife and stuff. And I just really enjoyed it, especially all the comic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid pick. It was number 10 on my draft board, so I'm on board with it. Maybe you want to comment?
Haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a good Kevin Smith film. It's not what I would have chosen. But I've seen it. I enjoy it. It's just never sticks out for me personally. But
yeah, I've seen it. It's been a long time. I really liked it when I first saw it. Obviously, the world has changed significantly since that movie came out, so there are quite a few aspects of it that do not hold up well at all. And I think Kevin Smith is one of the first people to admit that. Mm-hmm. Sure, whatever Peggy just did. But
from a scene in the movie, Jake.
Like I said, it's been a while, but like it's a really admirable effort from Kevin Smith to sort of level up to some more sort of weighty fare. Still funny, but like after Clerks and Mallrats, which were so sort of DIY, especially in the Clerks setting, and just sort of like the humor was a little more crass. It was crass in this movie, also as evidenced by Peggy's gesture, but also deals with some more serious and weightier themes as well. And Silent Bob gets more lines in this movie than all the other ones combined.
He does indeed. Hence the title of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the best Kevin Smith film of the Viewers universe in terms of like the best script, the best acting, everything works the best in it. But it's not my favorite. And as they even say in Reboot that Holden McNeil says that she's like, oh yeah, this movie should have been directed by a woman or a person of the LGBTQ community. They outright say it in the film, so they even know it.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. That's fair. All right, over to me, huh?
Yep.
Okay, so I could pick the movie that Jake thinks I'm about to pick, but I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
All right, so I think 90s, I've got a pretty broad spectrum of the 90s going right now. I've got Will Smith, and Will Smith was like the king of the 90s. I've got Julia Roberts. She was pretty big in the 90s, too. I mean, John Cusack was big back then. I guess you can say Mark Wahlberg was big, but there's a big name from the 90s that I am missing on my squad. And the fact that there's still a movie from him out there, I am going to have to take it, because this movie is where I think Jim Carrey really got his legs underneath him. I am taking Liar, Liar, because it is fantastic. He plays a lawyer whose son wishes that his dad can't tell a lie for 24 whole hours, and his life is turned upside down by that birthday wish, and it is hilarious. And you can't have a 90s draft without a Jim Carrey movie on your squad, at least in my world. So I am taking Liar, Liar with my fifth and final pick, much to the dismay of anyone? Somebody? Maybe no.
No, I mean it was on the list for sure.
Okay.
It's a really good pick. I mean, I have to watch it this weekend for trivia purposes, so I will have more to say then about it. But I really enjoy this movie. It's definitely like without the aid of CGI, this is like peak Jim Carrey physical comedy. Again, without the aid of computer graphics like The Mask, but yeah, and I'll cede the floor to the lawyer here because I think he'll have something to say.
No, it's been a long time since I've seen this one, and Jim Carrey's comedy is just not really for me. So I will just defer to people who I think it's more in their alley because I'm not gonna say it's a bad movie because it's just for a specific audience, which is not me.
It's very much. It's his shtick. It's very much Carrey's shtick. Like the movie was tailor made for him. Maybe I should have gone with the other pick. I didn't get as big a reaction as I was.
Jim Carrey is a guy that knows his audience, makes films for that audience, and is successful because of that audience. And this ticks those boxes. It's a Jim Carrey comedy. You know what you're going to get before you get to the opening credits. You're going to get him gurning. You're going to get him doing outrageous walks and outrageous body humor.
Voices, something.
But if you like it, it's hilarious. If it's not for you, you're not going to watch it in the first place. You're not missing anything. I personally, I like it, but
and it's a fun one, and one of my favorite bits that I've done now and then.
I think Sean's talking about the overactor. Yeah, that was a good one.
I love that bit.
I am shocked this lasted to the 5th round. I would have thought it would have been in my top 3. I adore this film. I love everything about it. This is my comedy. Like, I disagree with that. This is like typical Jim Carrey stick because Jim, like, if you actually look at Jim Carrey's movies, it does, and it's also like Jim Carrey really after '94 when he had those 3 big hits, he never really does the same film twice. Like, apart from the sequel of When Nature Calls, but every other film he does something completely different. Like the one before and after, he's got Cable Guy '96, Truman Show in '98, then Liar in the Middle. It's like it's all completely different stuff, and it's like
the films are different. The films are but him in those films, he is.
I could
Al Pacino does the same thing. Al Pacino does Al Pacino.
And it's
Nice, Al's out. It's fair. All right, well, that completes my team. Let's move over to Jake for his 5th and final pick. What you got, buddy?
Okay, I teased earlier that I was going to go off the reservation here. There's some really good movies left, but I'm gonna, because I want to talk about the movie that I'm gonna pick, just because I know. First of all, I know nobody else is gonna take it. Second of all, I want to sort of corrupt our entire audience by talking about this movie. Anybody who knows me remotely well knows that I am an absolute stan for anything done by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. South Park is the foundational show of my childhood. Make of that what you will.
Thanks so much.
Right before South Park, they made a movie that came out in 1997 called Orgasmo.
That's where you're going.
Which is the second movie that takes place in the porn industry to be drafted on this episode.
We're working our way up to episode 69.
Wow.
I was about to say episode 69 now sorted.
This is the guy who said he was going to class up the joint last time around.
Well, that was the previous pick, and then I said I was going to go off the reservation. That's what I'm doing right now. This movie, this movie is so stupid. Like, I'm just going to be upfront here. It's so stupid, but if you are familiar with the oeuvre of Matt Stone and Trey Parker, you see some common themes in their work here that developed really early. For example, the main character is a Mormon. And obviously, they did a lot of work with Mormons in the future to much more lucrative ends down the line. But so it's basically... He is great. So the basic premise of this movie is Trey Parker plays a Mormon missionary in Los Angeles who one day stumbles upon a house that on his round, he's making his rounds and knocking on people and trying to do the thing Mormon missionaries do. And he stumbles upon a house where they're shooting a porn movie. And sort of one thing leads to another. They try to kick him out, but he uses his like karate skills to like beat up the security guards. And like the director is impressed enough that he brings him in and tells him he wants him to work on the movie and be. Let's see. I'm glad this isn't a family show because I'm about to say some stuff that is definitely not a family show here. Yeah. So he is enlisted to be what I believe in the biz. I can't confirm nor deny. I'm not that much of an expert. He calls a stunt cock.
Indeed.
Because, and the only reason he accepts this is because he needs money to pay for his wedding to his fiance, and then it just sort of snowballs. From there, he gets more into it. He becomes a star of this series of superhero porn movies called Orgasmo, where he plays this character Orgasmo, and his sidekick is named Chota Boy, and he has a gun. Let me pull this up here, called the Orgasmerator, which induces orgasms in anybody who gets shot with this thing. And it kind of the art starts to imitate life at some point. He becomes like quote unquote a real hero and breaks up a sort of a criminal scheme going on. And his partner Chota Boy also has a weapon called the cock rocket. I just felt like I needed to mention that. So yeah, I'm going with Orgasmo because I've never really gone off the rails on this show before, and I think I was good.
I thought I had a mixed list, but now you take the cake there.
Can't say I've seen it.
It's like Jake said, it's definitely like anything South Park, Team America. You know, it's right up their alley. And one of the things I liked is that when they started doing, you know, more Mormon stuff and all that, and it always made me think of this. And then when the musical came out and they started singing Orlando, I was singing Orgasmo. But it's a wonderful just comedy, just like lose yourself in it. Just
it's so obnoxious.
I do not do drugs, but I think if you were high on something, whether edibles or smoking or whatever, I think you'd enjoy it more.
Strong endorsement for me in that regard.
Cool. All right.
And replying to Sean Buckley, yes, I was a stunt cock and it was my Trudeau hand, but I changed.
And with that, let's move over to Scott's fifth and final pick.
Yeah, well, I'm going to class up the joint. No, I'm kidding.
Here's a porn film.
Pick.
Debbie does.
There's a movie that I really love that is still out there, but I have talked about it before, so I'm going to go with something that I think most people will have not seen, because I honestly don't think I'm going to win the poll at this point, so might as well just ship this out. But, yeah, exactly. So I'm going to try to raise awareness of a movie called The Spanish Prisoner, directed by David Mamet.
I'm unfamiliar.
David Mamet, of course, is maybe more famously known for being a playwright, but he's also written several films, including Glengarry Glen Ross, House of Games, The Untouchables. You know, some very good films. Glengarry Glen Ross is adapted from his own play. But The Spanish Prisoner is a movie he did. It's a very Hitchcockian sort of drama thriller. It stars Campbell Scott as this guy who is a businessman. He's developed some sort of vague like process that is going to like change the world. You know, it's going to be very lucrative, obviously. And while he's on holiday, he runs into Steve Martin, who plays this sort of like, I don't know what the word for it, but he's like this larger than life kind of guy who just like sweeps away Campbell Scott into his orbit, and, you know, saying he's going to help him with all this stuff. You know, is trying to, you know, says he's going to help him with getting the process out there and getting paid off of it and everything. And then things start to happen, and you start to have some questions about the Steve Martin character, and it's one of Steve Martin's best performances because it's not really. There's elements to it, I guess, but this movie's a drama. It's a thriller, like I said. And if you like heist movies, con movies where people are just constantly like scheming and conning each other. And Campbell Scott, again, is kind of the Hitchcockian like patsy in the middle of it who doesn't really understand what he's gotten himself into until he's really deep into it. And then he has to use his own smarts to get himself out of the hole. It's got a really good cast, though. Like David Mamet's wife, Rebecca Pidgeon, plays sort of the female, not damsel in distress, but like the sort of femme fatale in the movie. And then Ben Gazzara, Ricky Jay is also in this movie. It's a really interesting, fun movie that I think people should check out. Again, if you like con, heist, that type of stuff, it's one of the best.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen it, but I'll definitely put it on my list to watch.
Yeah, I'm really happy this came up. This was like the top of my honorable mentions, this movie. I'm really glad that Scott picked it because I agree it's really good. Definitely one of the better sort of contemporary Hitchcockian type movies. And yeah, Steve Martin, I don't know if Steve Martin really ever did another actually serious role besides this.
LA Story?
What?
LA Story?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that a drama? I don't know. I haven't seen it, but
Steve Martin.
The point is there are very few, and he does really well in this one. He's definitely, I think, the reason to watch it. But you get that sort of Mamet machine gun dialogue also. Yeah. That's always just really, which is fitting that he wrote the Untouchables machine gun dialogue. But always really, really great to hear that.
I dig it when a script writer or a playwright has a certain cadence to their writing. There's a rhythm to it. I love it. Anyone who has that kind of musical writing, I always kind of gravitate to it.
Yeah,
so I was going to suggest this for you, Peggy, because you're a Sorkin fan.
Mamet and Sorkin definitely have some similarities
for sure. Yeah. Sounds like it, which is why it's going on the list.
Yeah, and Mamet's scripts, even just screenplay wise, brilliant to read. He's a brilliant writer in any medium, but just bam, 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 pop, hit those marks. And I love that Ricky Jay pops up in 99% of his stuff.
Seems like a lot of playwrights or script writers have their one actor that they always try to get in there. So that's him for him.
Mm-hmm.
He just likes magic.
All right, cool. Spanish Prisoner completes Scott's squad. Dave, close out both your team and the draft with your fifth and final pick. What you got?
Oh my lord! Well, likewise with Scott, Scott's convinced he's not going to win. I know I'm not going to win. I went with this as soon as my second round. I was pretty much. I'm going personal with these. Are films that
You're going to get some votes.
My last and final pick is the reason that The Mummy is so good. Brendan Fraser makes The Mummy.
Oh, no.
And he is the simple reason that George, watch out for that tree. It's obviously a blatant Tarzan ripoff, but it's for me. I adore it. I can watch it time and time and time again, and I laugh at every single one that I know I shouldn't now, but I still do. George,
I got to clarify.
What a chaotic list of movies that Dave has.
On the cartoon I grew up watching.
I love it.
I mean, this one is better because it has no Phil Collins music. I'm just going to say it.
Whoa. Whoa. Hey, now.
It still holds up.
But I grew up watching the cartoons, so I was always into the original Tarzan and anything to do with the jungles because my parents were raised there in the Congo.
You get Leslie Mann. That's always
and had lots of jungle stories, and so George of the Jungle was, it's a fun adaptation, and I like that this isn't his only cartoon adaptation that he's done. So
We don't talk about that.
That's probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
I have not seen this movie, but the only thing I have to say, Brendan Fraser, cut as fuck in this movie.
Yes.
Damn. If I went that way, I mean,
this Encino man, and it's like, bam.
Yeah, and it is literally the director of the Mummy. I can't remember it now, but he saw him in this, and he is the reason he got cast in the Mummy. Is this movie?
Nice. Still don't get the appeal of the Mummy. Anyways.
Oh no.
Okay.
That's a very controversial take that I have.
You're gonna get an angry
Rachel Weisz.
Rachel Weisz's eyebrows drive me crazy. Sorry, they just do. They just do.
That's a take.
It is.
Just quickly, Tom Taylor Church in this film is absolutely fantastic as the villain. Liz the Man is great as the love interest. John Cleese as an ape.
Yep.
I watched it and I had a lot of fun with it because it's probably my favorite film as a child. I was 5 when it came out. It was the absolute perfect time for all of it. I rewatched it recently and it's like Brendan Fraser is still hilarious in it. But I will say it probably would do if you are under the influence. This would be a fantastic film to watch. The comedy in it would work really well. It's like and everything about it just works. And this is the part where we all throw our heads back and laugh.
Sounds like that's the theme of this round. If you're on substances, you'll really like all of these movies.
Yeah.
And now Tony's going to yell at us because nobody picks the full Monty.
Yeah.
Is that? I thought you were going Fever Pitch.
Oh no, the full Monty.
Okay.
Yeah. I would have thrown that in instead of Chasing You.
Well, we will get to everyone's honorable mentions, or at least a few of them, after Tony gives us how all the teams shook out. Can you get a recap of how everyone's teams turned out, Tony?
Absolutely. Okay, so Garth went first overall. He went Good Will Hunting, Con Air, Princess Mononoke, Shooting Fist, and Chasing Amy. Peggy went for Boogie Nights, Grosse Point Blank, Men in Black, My Best Friend's Wedding, and Liar Liar. Jake went LA Confidential, Jackie Brown, Face Off, Gattaca, and Orgasmo. Scott went Titanic, Contact, Scream 2, Perfect Blue, and The Spanish Prisoner. And Dave, Fifth Element, The Devil's Advocate, Donnie Brasco, Kiss the Girls, and George Jungle.
Watch out for that tree.
All right, so we're gonna go around the horn and get everyone's honorable mentions. Those of you in the chat, I see a few of you have already started putting in there. Which ones did we miss? Which ones are you shocked were not mentioned or drafted on the panel? We're gonna start with Dave because he went last. He's gonna be the first to give his honorable mentions, and then we'll go around the horn.
Okay, I've got.
And also plugs in if you got any plugs that you want to get in.
Okay, yeah, I have got a plug. I'm trying to tie down the guy. I've been waiting to get this guy interviewed for so long now. If that made your list, it's on whenever I manage to tie down this guy to get interviewed on. It's on the featured presentations. It will be coming. It's me asking average ordinary people 20 questions about their favourite films and genres and everything else. Yay, me. Okay, honourable mentions. I've got 2. One is one film that freaked me out at the cinema when I watched it. It's sci-fi, pseudo-religious, probably not actually thinking about it. It's Event Horizon. Lawrence Fishburne and Sam Neill. It totally freaked me out when I watched it in the movies, actually in the cinema. That one, and the other one is the other teen horror franchise that started in that year. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Nice.
That one was on mine. Good selection. Scott, plugs and honorable mentions. Have at it, sir.
All right. Honorable mentions: Eve's Bayou, Amistad, which mainly just for Anthony Hopkins' performance because he's amazing in it as John Quincy Adams. And then the 2 that I would really recommend, The Rainmaker is the one that I almost took for my last pick. That's my favorite Grisham adaptation on film. I absolutely love that movie, but I've talked about it before, so I wanted to mix it up a little bit and took The Spanish Prisoner. But please watch The Rainmaker. It's one of the best courtroom dramas. And the last one, The Sweet Hereafter, which is a movie by Adam Agoyan, Canadian director, about the fallout from a bus crash that happens when a bunch of children die. Ian Holm is amazing in the movie as an attorney. Definitely check that one out. It was Oscar nominated that year.
Nice. Then any plugs? Did you get them all in?
Yes, yeah. Something Like It, Scott. Wherever you get your podcasts every week. Yeah.
Sweet. Short, sweet, to the point. Garth, a few of your honorable mentions and anything you need to plug.
I'll keep it to just a few. Obviously, I can go on. So one that I almost took for my fifth pick was A Life Less Ordinary. Directed by Danny Boyle, Ewan McGregor, and Cameron Diaz. Two people who, two angels played by Holly Hunter and Delroy Lindo, are assigned to get this couple together. It's a really sweet rom-com movie, lots of humor. Holly Hunter and Delroy Lindo as the angels are amazing, and the main song, "A Life Less Ordinary," is by Irish band Ash. And really great movie. And then Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. And Patrick Stewart as a villain is really, really, really good in it. It's a big, creepy movie.
Add that on my list too.
And then the last one I'll go with is Mrs. Brown. Dame Judi Dench is Queen Victoria, and Billy Connolly is the man that her servant basically, and there's like, are they romantically involved or not? It's a very sweet movie.
It's great. Like I love that film dearly. That's probably Billy Connolly's best role, especially because it's not a comedic role from him. So it's the Judi Dench playing Queen Victoria just after passing of her husband, Prince Albert. And it's just everything about it just wonderfully works well, and you have a very early performance from Gerard Butler as well.
Mm-hmm. It's a very sweet movie.
Then anything you want to plug?
No, basically, I do some trivia matches now and then when I can get them. I do shows like this when I can get them. Just toss my name into Google and YouTube, and you'll find me.
Yep, look from around the community. He always pops his head in every now and again in different
Yeah,
chats.
I'm the wise ass in the live chats. Who tries to get people to laugh on screen.
That's cool. All right, Jake, take it away. Honorable mentions, plugs.
Okay, yeah. Honorable mentions. This movie, Paul Thomas Anderson had two movies come out in 1997, at least in the United States. It was on the festival circuit in 1996, but Hard 8 came out in February of 1997. It's every Paul Thomas Anderson movie is great, so this is being sort of like his least best one is still better than like 95% of other filmmakers' best movies. The one I thought Peggy was going to pick was Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion.
Almost did.
Yeah, it's so, that movie is so funny, and just Janine Garofalo and Alan Cumming as well. In addition to obviously Lisa Kudrow,
Justin Theroux, randomly, yeah, he's in the team.
Yes, being the Uggo, Justin, former Uggo. Yeah, and then a very underrated Disney animated movie, Hercules.
Hercules. I didn't think that was the Disney one you were gonna go. Okay.
Yeah, Zero to Hero, I still listen to like regularly to like pump myself up from time to time.
Go the Distance. It's one of the best Disney songs of all time.
It's pretty good. Yeah, and then a couple more honorable mentions. Speaking of another director I absolutely love, The Game, David Fincher.
Yes.
Those on mine.
Really cool movie. And then one that I think I was a recent discovery because I had to watch it for Full Metal, but I was like really charmed by it. It's called The Castle. It's an Australian comedy, like a Australian family comedy. Very early Eric Bana in a small role, but it's just like, I feel like Taika Waititi was really inspired by this movie, just in terms of the tone and sort of the comedic stylings of this movie. So like, if you talk to any Australian in this community, they'll ride for The Castle for sure.
Messaging Taylor Robinson and Jacob London now.
Yeah, you're on higher circles than I was thinking, but yeah. You're in more rare than the rest of us. Anyway, plugs. I'm the head writer of Full Metal Trivia. We got matches going every week. Try to get like at least a couple out there. Singles has been going strong. Teams is ramping up, as Scott well knows. So yeah, and we're coming. Fun DMC. But check out Full Metal. Everything they do, and be nice to me. I try really hard.
He tries really hard. He does. He works really, really hard for the Zero Pay guys. So you're nice.
If you need a tester, I'm always available.
Yep. And speaking of people who work really hard for Zero Pay, Tony, what's coming up on featured presentations, and what movies are you appalled we did not mention?
All right, so feature presentation productions this week. So the I always want to say FPTL, but it's not FPTL anymore because fuck leagues. Feature presentation movie trivia is on Sunday. Sign-up sheet's still available if you want to play. And then that's it for the moment. A week on Saturday 29th, the multiple choice mailroom called Classic Carnage. 40 questions, all about cult classic films. That's going to be co-hosted.
Shout out to
by
Melissa.
Yeah, I still want to say prints and t-shirts with Melissa's image.
Yeah. Did she draw that by hand, or did she just find that on the internet?
I don't know. I've not asked.
Whether she digitally painted it or really painted it, it's a pain.
It's amazing. Yeah, so that is going to be co-hosted by Adam Collins. It's going to be a ton of fun. That's the last week. And then also, please just leave me alone for the rest of the week. It's Eurovision. If you are interested at all in Eurovision feature press on Twitter, I will be tweeting every single.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I love Eurovision. Is my special time of the year where I just get to be just a pure bitch, and I love it with a passion. It's the best time of the year. But yeah, and then just quickly,
something in the chat. Yeah,
mentioned in the chat. So as good as it gets, got brought up.
Yep.
No, sorry, that movie stinks.
Oh, that was there. You know, in the.
I have Selena on my list.
Starship Troopers. People are going to be mad.
Powers on my list.
I know. Yeah, that was a good one.
Good. Yeah, got Good Burger, Anastasia, Air Force.
Anastasia was on my list.
Air Force One does a good job.
Nearly picked Anastasia. Nearly picked.
Get the hell out of here with Airbud.
Yeah.
Stop.
Airbud. Yeah, that's the movie that scarred clowns for me. Not yet. It was Airbud.
Is a guilty pleasure based on the TV series.
Okay.
Yep. Blubber for another Robin Williams, and I always hate that I don't draft these ones because I can't. We get to the end of the show and it's 1 a.m. in the morning and we're already running late, and I can't go into the full 20-30 minutes of anger that I should have for everyone for not picking a fucking full Monty once again. It's the best dance film. It's the best one for 1997. It's a highly underrated film from you fucking Yanks. Dave, I have no judgment. You're dead to me, sir.
Anyways, over to my honorable mention. Actually, not just kidding. Are you done? Were you done with your full Monty? Right? Okay, cool.
It's still going on inside. I hate you all with a passion.
All right. So
I should have done detective work and figured it out.
A few that have not been mentioned that were on my list. Melissa, you and me were right here on a lot of them. Vegas Vacation. I almost picked as my 5th overall pick just because that's just a guilty pleasure of mine. In and Out, The Saint, and Picture Perfect are the only ones that are on my list that were not picked or said in anyone's honorable mentions. And then plug. I have a plug that is not featured presentation productions related. Not tomorrow, but next Thursday over on Matt No's show, Settle the Score. I am playing against Adam Collins in a mano. Who can name it first? Scores and soundtracks. Like they're gonna play a song for us, and the first one to buzz in and get it right gets the points.
It's a fun show. I second that recommendation.
So not tomorrow, but next Thursday, me versus Adam Collins. I get to lose to him again, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. We taped this weekend, but I'm so excited about it. And then you can find me here every Wednesday hosting Fantasy Film Fights. Next week we are drafting movies from either Susan Sarandon or Gina Davis that are not Thelma and Louise. So you can draft Thelma or Louise, but you can't draft Thelma and Louise. It's weird, but it'll be a fun one. So hopefully you guys tune in. Hope to see you then. But for myself,
just quickly before you go, polls. So poll will be up on the Facebook page as normal and also on Twitter. So if you're not on the Facebook group, you can also vote there as well.
Yes.
Just so we can spread out the love. And
I'll have it up before midnight Central. Hopefully. Last week I didn't because I decided to get sleep instead, but it should be up later. But let's wrap it up for myself, for Dave, for Scott, Garth, Jake, and my co-host Tony. Have a great week, guys. Hope to see you next Wednesday. Bye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please don't forget to vote.
That was
Awesome.
I thought it reeked.
Who's winning?
Let's see who wins.
You're gonna win.
Nothing personal. It's really gonna matter.
Tune in next week.
You see what happens?
Brand new.
Episode?
Fantasy film fight.
Doesn't matter who wins, because they're all losers.